up, Facebook fam? It is Tuesday, and you guys know what goes down here on Tuesday. White chat goes down here on Tuesday. So do me a favor. Make sure that you're hitting the share button and telling all my one sexy wives that that white chat is going down here on Facebook. I am so excited, and y'all know I get really excited. What's up, girl? What's up, Kiana? Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for getting on here. I appreciate you. It has been a day. I'm going to just say that. I've had a long day, and so I'm excited to come on here with you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me here on Wife Chat. And let me just tell you, I was checking into, because for some reason when I was doing a test here on Facebook, it's like lagging. So hopefully you guys are not getting a lag. It's not my internet service. It's something going on here with Facebook. Hi, Kiana. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure that you're hitting the share button. Tonight I'm going to be talking about blended families and stepchildren and this kind of thing. So I'm super excited about the topic. So again, do me a favor, make sure that you're hitting the share button and making sure that all my one sexy wives know that Wife Chat is going down here on Facebook. And again, I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Hi, Maddie. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Barbara. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you guys so much. Make sure that you're hitting the share button. And tonight I'm going to be talking about blended families and stepchildren. And it is something that I have dealt with in my own marriage. When I got married to Gail, Gail had a 3-year-old son. And so it was difficult because I had no children coming into the marriage, and it was a doozy. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much for getting on. Make sure that you guys are hitting the share button and letting all my one sexy wives know that we're going down here on Facebook. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me. And again, we're going to be talking about stepchildren today. This chat is actually brought to you from a wife all the way in San Diego, California. So hi, San Diego. Hi, California. This lady has only been married 6 months. So we're going to really get a chance to help her. For us that's been married for a minute and have dealt with stepchildren. Again, I just want to give her some tools and strategies. And for us that are already in it and have been in it a while, you know, some families blend really well and some people struggle. And I want to give a shout out to my girl Deidre. She has an amazing program called Mend the Blend. And it's really about blending families together and helping them become very strong. So again, I want to give a shout out to Deidre. If you're looking and you're struggling with blending your family, she has an amazing program called, again, Mend the Blend. Thank you so much, you guys, so much. Thank you, Dee Dee, for hopping on. Thank you guys so much for hitting the share button. A few things that I want to talk to you guys about is we're getting really close to almost selling out a BSB conference. So I really want you guys to pull the trigger and really think about joining us in January. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We did a photo shoot, me and my team and teachers and speakers this past weekend, and it was so much fun and it's so amazing. And I have some amazing creative teachers that are going to come pour into you guys. And some of you people have seen them on the website, but it's constantly being updated because I have had some speakers that had to drop out, and I'm adding another amazing teacher and speaker to the website, and she's going to really be pouring in about the confident wife. Like I said, it's going to be an amazing time. And so we had a good meeting. They're just ready to pour in. We're welcoming a man for the very first time, and he's going to be coming talking to us about why men are addicted to porn, strip clubs, all those kind of things, just really giving us a male's perspective. So I'm really excited about what's going to be happening in January. So make sure that you go on the website, and I put it up there, bsbconference.com, and make sure that you register because you don't want to miss this. Okay, so let me get into this. Help. This was her title, Help. I have an out of control stepchildren. And what I could gather from the email was she has two biological children. She didn't give the sex. One is 7 and the other one is 12. And then she came into the marriage 6 months ago with, and he has custody of the children. Again, didn't give the sex, age 10 and 8. And so this is a new marriage, and they're already struggling. And let me just tell you that so many of us go into marriages with blended families with children, and we really don't have a deep dive discussion about discipline, about, you know, baby mama or daddy drama. We don't address any of those things because we're so in love, and we might, you know, go places with the stepchildren, and they might do a little bit with your children and a little interaction, but really sitting down and having a meeting of the minds with the parents and all of those kind of things. And I know all of that is not always possible, but we are all adults and we should try to do our best to do this before we get married. But unfortunately, we don't do those things. And I dealt with baby mama drama and all of these different kind of things. But I want to give us some tools and strategies to really try to help this wife that reached out to me. And so let me just give you some statistics. There are 1,300 new step families formed every single day in the United States. 1,300 new step families. That means there are 1,300 marriages that are coming together that have children involved every single day. And let me just give you this. Over 50% of the families that are remarried, that have had a spouse in the past, the marriages end in 60% of divorce, and 80% of the time that they end in divorce is because of the step families. It's because the children were not able to adapt and to be able to blend the family. That is a huge statistic, and it's one that needs to be addressed in a bigger way. And I believe it's because we as adults don't come together and really talk about those things. We worry about credit scores, where we're going to live, how nice the wedding's going to be, who's going to be invited to all of those different things. But we don't sit down and really talk about how we're going to blend these families, the attitudes, the parents, the beliefs, the discipline, all of those different things. We don't sit down and talk about those things. And so when we get into these marriages, we're trying to make puzzle pieces fit into a place that sometimes their pieces are not going to fit. And so we got to work on this better, because that's a huge number, that 80% of the marriages are going to end because the families are not able to come to a meeting of the mind and blend. And it's mainly because of the children and how they were raised and what the other parent is telling them and all of these different things. And so let me just give you some tools and strategies if you're dealing with it. And of course, I can't cover everything. I can't deal with, you know, baby mama drama or daddy mama drama and I can't deal with all of those things. But what I can do is give you some tools and strategies that I know work and that you can begin to implement even if you're in that situation now. Because some of these tools and strategies I had to implement years ago when Brandon was 3 years old, and we were trying to blend, you know, him into our family. And of course, he is the oldest, so he came before everybody else. So there was mama drama and all of those different kind of things. But the first thing is that you need to set a baseline of respect. You have to set a baseline of respect. And let me just tell you, this has to be set by the parental parent. And what do I mean by this? If you're the spouse coming into the relationship and you have kids and he has kids, you have to set the best baseline of respect towards the other spouse, i.e., if I came into the marriage with my two children, listen, you don't have to like Gail, but you're going to respect him. And these are the rules of the house that we're setting together. And you have to abide by those rules, right? And you have to respect the spouse that are enforcing these rules in this house that we have formed together. And it has to be said by each parent, the parental parent, in order for this to work. And I know that sometimes that the fathers in a situation are like, well, you just handle it, I'm working or whatever. And it's not fair. And it's very, very difficult if you've been put in that situation. But you have to come to the meeting of the mind, and you have to tell the children, you don't have a foothold in this union when it comes to me and her. We're not going to break up. We're not going to be fussing over you. These are the rules we're going to create together. And both sets of children have to understand that they have to abide by them when either parent is enforcing them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you can't come in there and start too many changes. And what do I mean? So many times, we as women, right, have certain standards that we want going on in our households. And if the children that have been raised and reared by someone else don't have those same standards, if you come in there and try to change every single thing all at one time, you're going to get pulled back, not just from the children, but you're going to get it from that other spouse that is not involved in the particular marriage, and it's going to cause a power struggle. And then you're going to be putting your spouse in the middle of it because you're going to want him to be responding to that other ex-spouse or other ex-baby mama or daddy, and it's going to be this power struggle. So what I say is when you're coming together and the children are living under the same roof, or if they're visiting, there's visiting rights or whatever, you have to only implement one rule at a time, and you and your spouse have to be on the same page about that rule. Whatever. Okay, we go to bed or we turn off the TVs at 9 o'clock. Well, at my house, my mama said we could stay up till 12. Both parents have to say the TV is going off at 9 o'clock. Because if it's not happening and you want to say, oh, the TV's going off at 9 o'clock, your eyes got to be closed by 9:05, all of those different things, it's going to be a struggle. And it's going to cause problems because that other spouse is going to be like, well, my kids don't want to come over there because you got that woman, and and it's going to be this big power struggle. So if you're going to implement things, implement them one at a time, and allow the child to adjust, and make sure that you and your spouse are implementing one thing at the same time and you guys are on one accord. And it starts with conversations behind closed doors when the children are not around, in order for you guys to get on one accord. And then you have family meetings to bridge the gap and say, this is how we are our united front, and this is how this is going to work. Number 3, don't step up and be the chief person who does all the discipline, because that's what happens as well, and that's what caused the power struggle. When you get married, the spouse just becomes very lax, and you become this disciplinarian. And if the children are don't have no respect for you, there has not been a meeting of the mind, there have not been new rules set that you set together, and you become this disciplinarian, I guarantee you there's going to be a power struggle. And that's what happened in my house, because I was like, this is how we do things here. When, he would come visit us, we not leaving clothes all on the floor. We not leaving the water running. We not leaving the TV on all night while you sleep. We not doing all of those things. And the power struggle every summer became very, very strong. because I'm like, I need for you. And I'm telling Gil, you need to be telling him what to do. And it just became this thing. And so I became the crazy stepmom in the situation. And I didn't feel that Gil was stepping up to the plate, reinforcing things that we had said we wanted to do. So the power struggle became. And so, the mom was like, well, you ain't have to listen to her. She ain't your mama. And all of these different things that was going on. So make sure that you, even though you want to be, even though that's your personality, let the parental parent take the lead role in discipline when it comes to most of the things that goes on. And if it's the parent is gone or at work and you're left with those situations, what I started doing was picking up the phone and or texting and saying, you need to handle this. Because what happens is when I started putting it back on Gil, he started responding, because he like, I'm tired of you texting and calling all day long. Because again, I did not want to be the crazy stepmom that the mother was already putting in the child's head, if that's making sense. Okay. Number 4, get to know your stepchild on an individual basis, especially if there's more than one child. Get to develop a relationship with each one separately, right? And it's going to take some time. You might say, okay, on Saturday it's just going to be you and me, we're going to be hanging out or whatever. That's if the child is even open to that, right? But for the most part, they will be, if you're going to show them some special attention and take them somewhere that they would like to go. And the reason why I say get to know the child on an individual basis is because a lot of times one child is pulled to the left with the other child because they don't want to feel like I'm going against my biological sibling, or she only favors her kids or whatever. But if you spend equal time with each child and they get to know you on a personal level and get to see you outside of what they're being told, then you can develop a relationship with that child. And as that child grows, they'll be able to say, that's not true. That's not how she behaves, that whatever, and you begin to tell their spouse, their mother or father, that's not who she is. She's not like that or whatever. So you begin to develop a relationship and they become your ally, which is something powerful that can happen with a child once they get to really know you outside of that power struggle. So make sure that you make a conscious effort, if all possible, to get to know the child on an individual basis. And I will tell you that pretty much everybody that is in my circle has a blended family or has a child that came into a blended family, and some of these tools and strategies have been able to work. Not always, and especially if you're blending multiple children, it becomes a little bit harder. I just know that when Gil came in, he only had one, but it was the power struggle with the mom, because the mom wasn't ready to let go and all of those different kind of things. So it's so many different dynamics. But again, I was able to develop a good relationship with my son now that he is older, and he realized that a lot of things that was being said to him when he was a lot younger was not true, because I was able to develop a relationship. And when he came here, he was able to see that all the stuff that was being said about me and his dad was not true. But again, that took time. So just make sure that you develop that relationship. And I would, make a special effort to send, birthday cards and all those different kind of things on my own outside of Gil in order to develop that relationship. Okay. Number 5, don't be a pushover or try to be the children's friend so quickly, because then you don't gain the respect that you deserve as the other parent. And that's kind of hard, because you want the children to like you, especially when you're dating, because you don't want the other parent or the potential spouse or whatever to feel like, oh, my kids don't like her, so I can't, I can't continue with this situation, right? Because what happens is you give them a false sense of everybody's coming together, and it's not true. So wherever you are, make sure that you allow the kid to be the kid, that you let them know that you love them and that they are a part of your family, but you also need to let them know that I am your parent and I want the best for you, and I will discipline when I need to discipline, and I am not your friend in a sense where you can just talk to me and do anything, because I am not your biological parent. And so you have to set those rules and you have to put that into perspective at the beginning, and you can do it in a nice way, but you also have to set those boundaries and not allow them to abuse you mentally, physically, or verbally. Because I know so many people get into blended families and the kids are out of control because the other parent that is no longer in the relationship, right, tells them that they don't have to listen to you. You know, you can walk out, you can do whatever you want to do. And so that becomes very abusive. And especially if your spouse is not taking up for you, then you feel like you're working against, everybody's working against you. And so you have to establish that, and you have to establish self boundaries for yourself. And number 6, try not to compare your children and their upbringing and how you do things with your children with the other children in the room, because that creates a division and that creates a power struggle between your kids as well, because they become the goody two-shoe kids and we become the kids that nobody cares about, or you don't care about them. And so I know sometimes that's hard, especially if the kids that your stepchildren are not raised the way they should have been raised, or disciplined the way that you would discipline them, or they don't go to church, or whatever that looks like. I know that's hard, but make sure that you don't try to compare your kids and pit one kid against another. It's unhealthy and it's very hard to undo. You want to bring them into the fold where they're equal. You treat them equal, you discipline equally, you give equally, you spend time equally as much as you can. And I know sometimes that's hard, but you don't want it to be those are your kids and these are my kids. And when you begin to talk like that, that creates division right there, then and there, just in your words. Because remember, your words have power. And number 6, remember that you and your spouse come first. You and your spouse come first. No matter what is going on with the kids, you guys are a team. You are one flesh. Even when you think your teammate is not working with you, you need to have those conversations, not in front of the children. You need to have those conversations with your teammate, your spouse, behind closed doors. Because again, the kids to see that there's any separation, they're going to keep making that little crack bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're going to become one of those statistics that 80% that does not make it because you didn't really know how to blend the family and you guys did not have those conversations before you got married. And I will tell you, I am guilty. I did not have that conversation about how we were going to navigate and incorporate Brandon into our family. And granted, I did not have kids until almost 4 years after Gail and I was married. So Brandon was already 5 or so when I got pregnant with Justin. But the thing is that we still didn't figure out how, and we still didn't have those conversations about when he's going to start coming, when the other kids, when Justin was born, and all of these different kind of things. So it created this power struggle. It really did, because Gail wanted to dive off and spend all of this time with Brandon because we were only getting him a certain amount of time. And my thoughts is Justin is here all the time, and you just leaving him here and taking off doing all these other things. Granted, it was an age difference, but as a mother, I felt that he was making a difference. And I'm just being honest with you. So it was this power struggle that was going on back and forth. So my thing is I had to realize that Gil and I was a team, that he did not love Brandon more than he loved Justin or any of those things. But that came with maturity as well, because I was 23 when I had Justin, right? And so it was a lot of immaturity. It was a lot of just chaos and stuff going on. And then I had the baby mama drama. It was just all of these different things. And so what I say to the young lady is that you only been in this 6 months. And please use some of the tools and strategies to get some help. And if your spouse is not supporting you, then you need to have candid conversations behind closed doors and say, this is how we need to do this. And I would appreciate it if you support me in this, because I do not want this power struggle. And you've only been in it 6 months and you got a long way to go. And so my prayer is that this has helped somebody, because I understand what it is to be in a blended family, and I understand what it is to be dealing with so many different dynamics. And again, I haven't dealt with so many children because we only had to blend one, right? And then, you know, again, God has blessed me with 2 little girls that we had to blend into, you know, where I raised boys. So it's been a learning curve for me as well. Again, even though they're my nieces, they still had to come into rules and regulations. And their mindset was, you know, 8 and 9 at the time when they came to us. So again, I understand what it is having to try to raise other kids, people's kids that was not raised in the same household with the same principles, the same mindsets, and all those different kind of things. And so we've been at this 2 years and we still rocking and rolling. And some days they get it and some days they don't. But again, I understand what it is to be a blended family, and my prayer is that we as people can come to the table as adults and quit being petty and pulling the kids and talking to the kids crazy and all of these different kind of things, and be adults and lower this number of 80% of blended families ending up divorced again, and that makes me sad. So my prayer is that this was helpful to you guys. Again, I thank you so much for getting on here. Again, Deidre with Truly Where Wives has an amazing program called Men to Blend. It's an amazing program. So if you guys are struggling with that, she's an amazing resource. I mean, she's dedicated her life to really the blended family platform. So that is a good resource for you guys. If you have any questions, you guys know I always go back on here and I answer, like, or whatever, any questions that you have. If you have anything that you would like to see on Wife Chat, please just put it in the chat or send me a personal message. I will never say your name or anything like that. And I'll just say this is brought to you, just like I said, the lady from San Diego. Again, have an amazing, amazing night. I love you guys to pieces. I hope and pray that you register for the BSB One Sexy Wife Roundup. It's going to be bananas. I'm telling you, it's going to be banana. And guys, we're stepping into a whole new decade. That's a whole